What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck with you, Buck. First of all, where the heck are you, man? Where you at?
Okay, so DJ, I'm in North Carolina. I'm on a travel delay. There's a little bit of a tornado watch and warning, so I'm just kind of hanging out. Found a corridor that I could make sure I join you for the podcast.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, shoot, don't let a little tornado keep you from joining the pod here. By the way, as someone who grew up on the East Coast, who's lived on the West Coast for a long time, and you've so how would you rank them in terms of how nervous you get now that you've done hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes? What's the most worrisome?
Well, I think the tornadoes and the hurricanes, they're more nervous. You're nervous because you know they're coming. Yeah. The earthquake, you just wake up, or in the middle of the night, it's just a quake, and you're like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. I mean, luckily we haven't been in a very destructive one, but it's a little different. It's a different. I feel like East Coasters are so scared of earthquakes, and I'm like, I know that we had the Northridge one and the big one. You know, we've had a lot of damage done. But as someone who lived in Southern California since I think I moved to California in 1980, 1981, somewhere around there. It's you shake a little bit, some stuff might fall off the wall, and you're good. Like, to me, that's infinitely better than my house being literally sucked up into the sky. Like, that sounds a lot scarier to me. Well, being bi-coastal, going back and forth from here to Jacksonville and dealing with hurricane season, and you're talking about like houses being uplifted and things going. Yeah, it seems a lot more chaotic on the East Coast, even though my East Coast buddies are like, yeah, but the earthquake thing.
I couldn't do the earthquakes. Everybody says that. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, this is way better. I mean, fires, that's
another one. I feel like that's a new phenomenon. One. Yeah, that's a tough one, particularly in LA. Like, the wildfires are crazy.
Well, hopefully you don't get sucked up into the sky during this episode. Where are you at? Where are you at in your process right now? We each have kind of our process getting ready for the draft. We're a little over a month away. Like, where's Bucky Brooks at?
And so it's funny because I have a new top 5 that comes out on Wednesday. And so now, DJ, what I'm doing is the expansion. So this time I'm adding, what we used to call on the old board, like the elephants. So I'm adding that so I can get more names on the list, because you don't know, like, if you just have top 5s in the traditional way, the game has changed where you don't have that. So I'm adding slot receivers, elephants, and then our nickels.
Nice.
It's different because, like, you get a bunch of names in, but I know people are going to read it and be like, yeah, but he doesn't play nickel. Yeah, but we're projecting based on what he looked like, his skill set, and those things. So it's been fun to add some new names and kind of reshuffle the deck, because I haven't had one since pre-combine.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got a new mock draft coming out Tuesday. So as you're listening to this, it might even be out. So that'll be coming your way.
And I just want you to know that Mock Draft Live starts on Tuesday.
Right.
That's right. And we are Lance, Mike Yam, and myself. We're going to take apart your mock draft without you being able to defend yourself.
I sent it in early. I think I'm joining you on this. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm joining you on this. One shot at this thing. So yeah, and Zerline will be, he'll be all whiny and complaining. That'll be his deal. But no, that'll be a fun show. I think that's on. Where can we find that, Buck? Is that on?
It should be on NFL.com. It'll be on NFL.com. Okay. It'll show on that. It'll be on the Fast channel, but for sure it'll be on NFL.com.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that, and new mock, couple new names to throw in there. I do like doing the if this then what. If this happens, how it kind of shakes some things up. I will say one little teaser on that one. If you're looking at guys, like I was looking at guys who could potentially have a wide range of where they could go. To me, the one guy where it's tricky, where I could see him going way up there around the 10th pick, like in that mix, or I could see him sliding down towards the bottom portion of the first round, is Kenyon Sadiq. Like, he's a tricky one to kind of slot in.
Well, because it's a bit of a luxury pick. And if we go back and we look at history has not been kind to tight ends taken in the top 10, taken way up there. We just haven't got the bang for the buck traditionally when you take guys up there. And when we talk about marquee positions or premium positions, tight end hasn't been viewed as one. So to convince someone that this player is going to come in an outlier position, it can be hard when we get to the draft and we talk about a bunch of really good players. And even though it's a good player, we talk about value and position and all that other stuff. It could impact his status.
Yeah. I mean, last year, Loveland was right at 10 and had a nice return. And then Warren was, 14, I think?
Yeah, 14.
But like Hawkinson, I loved Hawkinson when he came out. He was picked a little early. Pitts, although they brought him back, hasn't, at least to this point, lived up to what he was selected.
Go all the way back to Eric Ebron and some of those guys.
Wow.
Like a lot of, it took a long time. It took a long time for Vernon Davis to pop the way he was supposed to pop. I think it's a position that can be hard to unlock to match what expectations are for a top 10 pick. But we've seen second and third rounders do it because they kind of come out of nowhere, and it's a gradual process before they become stars.
Yeah. So Bowers was the 13th pick. And I would argue that, Sadiq's he's not Bowers. He's a good player, but he's not Bowers. So if he's a 13th pick, and you can see, there's a range of where you could go, but that was a tricky one for me. And you can check that out again. That'll be out tomorrow. And you'll see us talking about that on the show with Yam and with Lance. So that'll be fun, Buck. I wanted to get to some quarterback stuff today of just some of the movement that we've seen. And what do we think of it? Do we like the decision, the move, the fit? And then does it mean anything else going forward? Let's start first of all. Daniel Jones goes 2 years, $88 million. They put that transition tag on him, which I think was probably a smart move. Bought it for some time to be able to lock him down. So he gets a little bit more than the tag numbers there. But Daniel Jones coming off the injuries. But do you like that decision by Andy?
Well, I think so. If you look at the first 8 games last year, they were 7-1. Offense was as hot as you could find. I mean, they were cooking with gas. He was playing really well. Then there were some injuries and just some inconsistencies that eventually the offense fell apart. He suffers a season-long injury that I witnessed when he was down in Jacksonville with the Achilles, and things didn't go the way that the Colts wanted. But I think the blessing in this, and talking to people in the building, he got a chance to see Phillip Rivers in this process, and to even go even further down the road in terms of, hey, look at how Phillip Rivers came in, look at how he commanded the team and the huddle and those things. What are things that I can learn and add to my game? When you talk to people in that building about Daniel Jones, they said he gave a little bit of calmness to the offense. There's a lot of confidence because he was a seasoned veteran. He knew exactly what he was doing and how to do it. Now Shane Steichen has a full offseason to work with him. Man, I think it's right for Indianapolis, provided that, look, he comes back from the injury, but we've seen so many people come back from it that it's not what it used to be. I think it'd be fine. I think it was a good move because they trust the quarterback, and given where they are in the division, they need to have that quarterback play well.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm looking at it right now because it sounds like, Anthony Richardson could be traded. You've got Riley Leonard coming into year 2. But if Daniel Jones, do you want some insurance here? Like just some type of a veteran that if, we needed to get through a couple games early in the year as he's trying to get back to full health, I could see them, looking for something else out there just to bring in another guy.
A little bit, but then I'll be honest with you, DJ, at the end of the year, Riley Leonard played okay for them. And he got some spunk to him, some athleticism, saw him against the Jags, but also later, after they were officially eliminated, he had a chance to play and did okay. I think there's some confidence in him because of the way he prepares, the way he's competitive and those things. They probably will stand pat and go with Riley Leonard, give him a shot until Daniel Jones is ready. I think Anthony Richardson is completely out of the picture. I think I wouldn't expect him to be there. I wouldn't expect him to be around by the time they get to training camp or whatever. I just think they've moved on in that regard from the number 4 overall pick.
So if we're going to go letter grade, Daniel Jones, Colts, fit, signing, I think I'd give it an A. I'd give it an A. I just don't know that there was a better option for them.
Not given where they are, because everyone is under win now. They're operating win now. So you don't have time to bring someone in, teach them a new system because he was there and because he played well. Yeah, I mean, I think it all lines up. It's a perfect match in terms of the player knowing what we want, expectations, how they performed. You have a blueprint by just going back to the first 8 games and seeing how we played. Now we just want to build on that.
All right, let's get to Tua. Tua, Atlanta, 1-year deal. They've come out and said it's a competition, right? So you get a competition between Tua and Penix. Penix coming off of injury. So, where do you stand on that one in terms of the fit and how you like it overall?
So it's unique because I think you're talking about kind of like the same guy in a way, right? An off-injured left-handed quarterback that you're counting on to be available. With Tua, you get a veteran who has played pretty well at times when surrounded with playmakers, but it's the inconsistencies in his game that kind of leads you to want more from a player who has been paid handsomely, paid to be a borderline elite quarterback. In Atlanta, it should work for him because you have weapons around him. And we saw in Miami when he had weapons and he was healthy, he played well. Well, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, offensive line is solid. System that Kevin Stefanski likes to run works with him. And then also the Tommy Rees thing, Tommy Rees and the Alabama connections, being able to really kind of tap into all those things, it should work. The competition between him and Penix, I think you don't bring Tua in unless he's going to end up being the starter. Or if you can hold up a true competition, maybe that works. I just expect Tua to be the starter in Atlanta.
Tua plays faster. So, and this is a team, they got to get better. I'm looking at their numbers from last year. This Atlanta offense was 30th in third down, 24th in points per game. Like, there's too many good players that can win on third down. First of all, you've got a receiver, a tight end, and a back who should all be, major matchup advantages on third down. There's no reason for them to be that bad. And then points per game, there's too much. They got too much there to be that bad.
Yeah, and here's the thing that really intrigues me about it. Think about the quarterbacks who played really well for Kevin Stefanski outside of Joe Flacco. Case Keenum played well. You think about Baker Mayfield playing well, that early part of the run there. I think it works. Kirk Cousins. I think it just works with Tua because you talked about getting the ball out of your hands. The athleticism is a little part, but it's more so, can you be a quick processor? Can you deal, like we talked about being the blackjack dealer at the casino table? He can do that. And I think they can build an offense for that. And because we talk about trucks and trailers, he's a trailer. And so the talent around him should propel him. All he has to do is just get them the ball and get out the way. He can do that. And I think that is where he's at his most comfortable.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that shakes out with the competition. I hope Penix comes back healthy and it's a good, solid competition between them. Penix can make some throws that Tua can't make. So, in terms of being able to drive the ball down the field, he's just got a way different level of arm. So that's the thing he has going in his favor. But I hope we get a healthy competition there to see how that shakes out. There's some other signings I want to get to, Buck. But before we do that, there's a trade that just went down as we're recording this, a little bit before we started here. The Jets, they're going to send Justin Fields to Kansas City for a 27 sixth-round pick. And I believe the Jets are eating a bunch of the money. So the Chiefs, much like we were talking about the Colts, you've got a quarterback coming back off of injury. What's the plan there? Atlanta, quarterback coming back off injury. This is the same boat here. Now, you hope that you're going to have Mahomes ready to rock and roll. But if he's not, Justin Fields might get a crack at this thing.
Yeah, I didn't even think about Justin Fields being having a chance to be the starter. In my mind, I'm thinking Pat Mahomes is coming back. He's going to be the starting quarterback week one. That's just how he operates. I think about Andy Reid being the ultimate rehab facility. If you can't learn how to play quarterback under him, then you're never going to be able to learn how to play quarterback. And we just have seen him do this time and time again, where they take these quarterbacks and they just work with them, they develop them. And everyone who has played quarterback under Andy Reid has pretty much succeeded. I would expect Justin Fields to do the same thing. But what I really believe is, how we talk about needing an advocate once you get into the thing, not the same, but similar. Sam Darnold going to the Kyle Shanahan rehab facility that then allows him to go see KOC, that then allows him to go to Seattle and have success. To me, that's what this is in terms of Justin Fields intentionally picking Kansas City because he wants to get coached, he wants to get better, and he may be able to do it as a QB2 to give himself a chance to extend his career, whatever it looks like down the road.
I think just getting a chance to be around Mahomes, as much as Andy's great and having him there to help in that regard, I think being around Mahomes is going to help a lot. And if I was going to say the one thing I would love to see Justin Fields, if you're not giving up on him, the one thing I'd love to see him add to his game or improve on is I see him be more aggressive and assertive and more decisive, like attacking. And I think if you look at the Chiefs offense, when they've kind of fallen off the last few years, I think they've lost some of that. And I think EB coming back in there is going to help with that. And I'm curious to see if this is going to be good for all parties because I think it'll serve the Chiefs offense well to get back to that. And I definitely think Justin Fields needs to incorporate more of that.
Absolutely. And, I know you were there and it's not the same kind of player, but you had a chance to see the rehab of Michael Vick behind Donovan McNabb. And you've seen Andy Reid at his best in terms of how he builds a quarterback back up. When you think about Kansas City, and not that they're looking for the next quarterback, but for so long, Philadelphia was a quarterback factory where they would develop these quarterbacks behind the starter and then they would auction them off and pawn them off. To me, this is a chance for them to rehab Justin Fields, develop a young quarterback, then eventually, potentially, trade him away for something and get some other stuff back. And that's a process. And that process starts with them building him up to be what many thought he could be when he entered the league.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for everybody. It was done there with the Jets. I think the Jets are 2027 bound, man. It is all about whoever that's going to be coming in 2027. They got 3 first-round picks. They are set up to get their quarterback at that point in time. And Justin Fields, perfect spot for him to get kind of get his mojo back a little bit, get some confidence. I think it's a great spot for him. All right, Buck. This one I think is the biggest upside marriage of new quarterback, new location. Kyler Murray going to Minnesota. I think this could hit big, or this could, it just might not work. But I think in terms of the upside of it, if it all comes together, man, I think Kyler Murray could go off in Minnesota.
Yeah, DJ, I'm going to say this, and some of this is like excitement, but Kyler Murray's the most talented quarterback that KOC has worked with in terms of just pure talent. You don't get drafted in the top 10 of MLB. You're not the number 1 overall pick without having a high level of talent. Even though he's not the runner that he once was, he is dynamic. He's explosive. He's electric. Undersized, yes, but man, big arm, big game. He has all those things. And with KOC, you're hoping you get a motivated Kyler Murray who wants to prove all the people wrong that kind of have cast him aside. And I just think about the weapons that they already have in place. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, running game that they're going to feature, the offensive line. To me, man, this is the best opportunity for Kyler Murray to be who many of us thought he would be when he entered the league coming out of Oklahoma. I'm excited about it, but now Kyler Murray has to meet KOC halfway, and he has to do all the work to be the player that they need him to be, not only athletically, but from a mental standpoint and being able to handle all of the things that KOC is going to put on his plate.
Yeah, I think he's got a chance to really, really flourish here. And I know some people have talked about, Kyler Murray's at his best when he's scrambling around. No, he can still function from the pocket. And he's one of those, to me, it's just getting some depth. If he just gets some depth and he's got enough arm to be able to stretch the field, I like the fit there. I really do. And I think you're also going to have KOC who's going to be able to time it up, 3 or 4 times a game where you're going to be able to call, a quarterback draw. You're going to be able to run in some short down situations. You can run some speed option. Like you can sprinkle in just a little bit of that, and some design stuff with his athleticism, not just him, trying to move around. I think he can win on time. I think he's better in that regard than people give him credit for, especially when he's got a good offensive line in front of him, which he should have. And then I think having that creativity to dial that up a little bit on some design quarterback runs will be fun.
Yeah, DJ. And I think his arm, I want everyone to go back and think about the way that KOC used to script the winners for Justin Jefferson. When Sam Darnold was there, when Kirk Cousins was there, 3 or 4 times a game, it would be a play design that is specifically, I'm getting Justin Jefferson wide open on this play.
90-yard touchdowns. I can remember those was saying.
And those are going to be the things that they're able to incorporate with Kyler Murray. And I know people are going to talk about J.J. McCarthy and all that, but I think when you have an opportunity to take a player that's as talented as Kyler, you have to roll the dice and say, hey, I can get it out of him. And where the Minnesota Vikings are, because everyone has kind of moved past them in that division, their defense should be good enough to be able to get it back with Brian Flores. And then offensively, it's just a matter of can they utilize their playmakers? They couldn't utilize them last year. Kyler Murray should give them a chance to really maximize what they could be on offense.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Over all these fits, that's the one I think I'm most excited about. Malik Willis was the early one, 3 years, $67.5 million. Buck. Miami, we've talked about it a little bit earlier, but just when you put it in context of all these moves, how do you like it?
Well, the reason I like it from Miami standpoint is they took a quarterback that they knew intimately. 2 years with them, John Eric Sullivan, the general manager, Jeff Hafley, the head coach. They know exactly who Malik Willis is. I think they have a unique perspective, particularly Hafley being a defensive coach that is facing Willis every day in practice and seeing the strengths and weaknesses of his game. I think it should be easier for them to build an offense that accentuates his strengths, minimizes his weaknesses, and they're able to build a team around that. Because they are, in my mind, full rebuild mode, there should be some grace and some patience as he grows into this role. Probably the best fit that Malik Willis could have. I know there was a lot of conversation about Arizona. To me, the rebuilds are different in Arizona and Miami. To me, this is one where he can grow, and we're thinking 3 years down the road as opposed to, hey, he needs to be a right now player, because I still don't know if he's that.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers are that big where if this year it doesn't go great and you're, find yourself picking high up in the draft, they could take a quarterback next year. I think it's a little bit of a cake and eat it too. It's kind of a free look on a guy who's extremely talented, and there is some familiarity there, but he still hasn't played a lot. I don't think I think this to me is the most unknown situation that we got to see, and there's not a ton around him there in Miami. I mean, this roster's got a lot of holes, but it feels like to me an expensive flyer, but there's no reason why if this goes great, awesome. You hit it and you can build around him next year. If it doesn't go well, no harm, no foul. You just take a quarterback next year.
Yeah, and I think the pressure on him is the pressure is different in Miami, because I don't think there are great expectations for the Miami Dolphins next year. To me, this is him coming in and really being able to grow with the team. And you're right, DJ, if they hit, the number isn't astronomical. So if he is absolutely terrible as a starter, like, hey, we can consider what's going on in 2027. Maybe we'll make another move. But to me, these are two guys that are operating on the same timeline. The team is operating on the same timeline as Malik Willis, and you hope that it just matches.
Yeah, no question. Kirk Cousins released by the Falcons. We're waiting on that one. There's been a lot of rumblings about the Raiders. Potentially he could go in there and they'll give him the keys to the car, similar to Alex Smith with Mahomes. He'd come in there and start hopefully for the entire year. And Mendoza, I think Brady and their brain trust feels like that's the best way to handle a young quarterback, even one that you would think in Mendoza that could be able to get out there. But it allows you to continue to build up the team around him, allows him to really, really learn. That's his superpower anyways, is his brain, to be able to learn this new offense with Kubiak and get comfortable with it. Maybe even if it was half of a year. But the question would be, would Kirk Cousins feel confident that they would actually give him that runway? That would be an interesting fit. But that's one of the rumors that's floating around out there.
Well, to me, DJ, that would be great. And I hadn't heard that, hadn't thought about that. But to me, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because Kirk Cousins would be coming back to a system that he knows very, very well. And once again, in that system, the way that Kirk operates, they've really done a good job of upgrading the defense. They're trying to put together the offense. They have a running game. He should be able to manage it and kind of play like he has always played throughout his career. If he's able to do that, and you are able to give Fernando Mendoza a red shirt, a half a red shirt, man, that would be great. It would also allow Mendoza to see someone, not saying that their games are similar, but someone who operates like that, so he can begin to learn his own process to get ready to play and be a long-term starter in this league.
Yeah, I think it does make a lot of sense, even for the first overall pick, just buying some time. And it's the way it used to be done. He used to be able to do that in the past. Gosh, I want to say Carson Palmer sit for
2 years?
Yeah.
He sat behind John Kitna, I think, for 4 years before he got a chance to play. And he was the number one overall pick. Yeah. I mean, and they did it, and it worked out for him. Kitna played well, continued to play well, and then when Carson was ready, he took over.
That one.
Yeah, that would be a unique situation, but that is the way that it was done for a long time. And we have seen for a lot of guys, when you have an opportunity to sit and learn and slowly get introduced into the league, you have a tendency to fare better. This would be a great situation, because Tom Brady has been so vocal about the development process. I think they're going to do their best to give Mendoza the best chance to succeed before he takes the field.
No doubt. All right. I wanted to get on one more guy. Well, first of all, we're waiting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh. Does he play? Does he not play? Like, that's TBD there at the quarterback position. I know that, and then we also had Geno Smith, who got traded to the Jets, so he goes back there, a little homecoming for him. The quarterback storyline I'm keeping an eye on that nobody's talking about at all, and I know the Niners have said they want to keep Mac Jones, but I'd be curious, as we go through the rest of the offseason, and some teams still have needs there, weighing Mac Jones trade possibilities versus what you could get in this draft, I think is going to be a fascinating discussion. And maybe the Niners change their tune on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So let's talk about the Niners first. The reason why the Niners may be reluctant, or maybe they're playing possum, when it comes to Mac Jones is because, man, Mac Jones had to play a lot of games for them last year because of Brock Purdy's injuries. And part of because Mac Jones was able to play so well, it allowed them to stay in the hunt. I mean, they were fighting for the number one seed up until the last week of the season, and Mac Jones had a big part in that. Secondly, when it comes to Mac Jones, I know Mac Jones wants to be a starting quarterback, but man, you want to be a starting quarterback in the right situation. Not that he's getting to the last bite of the apple, but close as a starting quarterback. He wants to give himself the best chance. And when I survey the landscape, I don't know if any of the teams that are looking for a quarterback are the type of teams that can let him settle in and be a long-term solution in that spot. But as we do get closer and as we begin to see these pro days, I know we have Mendoza coming up April 1, but these other quarterbacks, DJ, when they look at these other guys, because I know Ty Simpson is the presumptive number 2, but the other guys, I don't know how that's going to play out. The phone could start buzzing in San Francisco when we get down to it.
Yeah, so I'm curious about it, man. So look, the place where I could see Mac Jones fitting is inside the division in Arizona, and I don't think they're going to do that.
Why would we help?
Give them a quarterback.
Why would we help a division rival? Yeah, I can't see that being a good thing.
No, but it is interesting just to see what the future looks like for him. All right, this was a fun one. Again, we've got mock drafts, we've got top fives that's coming out this week, so lots of draft content. But I did want to kind of kick around the changing landscape of the quarterback position. That was fun, Buck.
Man, look, anytime we get a chance to talk about quarterback, there's going to be a lot of interest. And this year is unlike any year that we've seen where the draft is barren of starting quarterbacks, and we're playing all these musical chairs. It's going to be funny to see what this looks like as we get to and through the draft, as people settle in on who's going to be their QB1s and 2s.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. You can find us again right here on Move the Sticks.